The U.S. military seized two Venezuela-linked oil tankers in separate actions today. It comes the same day Trump administration officials briefed lawmakers on the capture of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Right now, we're getting a look at the operations. Pentagon video shows U.S. forces seizing another oil tanker in the Caribbean. And in the North Atlantic, the U.S. also took control of an oil tanker formerly known as Bella. The White House says both were linked to Venezuela. The Trump administration says the seizures give the U.S. leverage over the interim authorities in Venezuela.
They understand that the only way they can move oil and generate revenue and not have economic collapse is if they cooperate and work with the United States.
President Trump announced on Tuesday that Venezuela will be turning over between 30 to 50 million barrels of sanctioned oil to the U.S. to sell, with proceeds benefiting both Venezuela and the U.S. And joining us now live from Washington is Karen Caifa with a look at the gas price impact. Karen, Americans coasted through the holiday travel season with some of the lowest gas prices in years. Has the Venezuela situation changed the outlook for 2026 at all?
It really hasn't too much. You know, the fuel savings platform GasBuddy had put out their forecast for 2026, forecasting that you could see crude oil prices go as low as $50 a barrel by the end of the year, with the expectation that gas prices will sit below $3 a gallon nationwide for the entirety of 2026. But once the Venezuela action happened, they didn't really change that. And that's because right now there is such a global supply of oil. You had OPEC ramp up production, the U.S. ramp up production, other countries ramp up production. And so if the Trump administration is successful in persuading oil companies to invest in the infrastructure in Venezuela, the thinking is it can only add to that supply and keep crude oil prices lower, which of course is good news for American drivers, Brendan.
And Karen, the Trump administration will host major oil company executives at the White House on Friday. What's expected from that meeting?
Yeah, we're expecting representatives from Chevron, from ExxonMobil, from ConocoPhillips to head to the White House for this meeting. Right now, Chevron is the only U.S. oil company active in Venezuela. The others left during the Chavez regime, the Maduro regime, because Venezuela just wasn't playing fair. But what we do expect is that the Trump administration will lay out what their plans, their goals, their intent is for Venezuela. And we also expect the oil executives to ask some tough questions, too. A big concern for them will be stability, not just in Venezuela, but also in the region. Maduro had some allies there who aren't too happy about what the U.S. has just done, so there'll be that to consider. It's expected that it would take tens of billions of dollars of investment to really ramp up Venezuela's oil production infrastructure to where it once was a few decades ago. That's going to take time, that's going to take money, and oil executives will have to weigh whether that's worth the actual risk.
And Karen, my last question for you. What are the latest developments out of Venezuela today, and what are lawmakers learning about the U.S. activity there?
Well, lawmakers on both sides of the Capitol received a briefing today about that operation that took place over the weekend. A lot of those details were classified, but you also had lawmakers asking some questions about the long term, right? Secretary of State Marco Rubio participated in those briefings, also the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Marco Rubio came out afterwards to tell reporters a little bit about what was discussed, and he said it's really a three-phase plan that the Trump administration has for Venezuela. There's stabilization, there's recovery, and then there is transition. House Democrats in particular were really critical of the briefing that they received, saying it's still short on details as to how the Trump administration plans to accomplish all of these things. And again, this is something that the oil executives will be very interested in when they head to the White House, because again, this is something that could be a lot of money and a lot of risk.
All righty, Karen Caifa, thank you for your time.